This happened a couple of years ago, right before school ended. It was the last day of 8th grade. You know the feeling, that strange mix of relief and dread, everyone buzzing with excitement, counting down the hours, but also quietly realizing that this version of life was ending. Hallways, that had felt endless for years, suddenly felt smaller, familiar. My middle school was huge, easily over 1,000 students. On the final day, the teachers tried to keep things under control by collecting everyone's yearbooks and passing them around to different classrooms. That way, everyone could sign without the chaos of the halls turning into a stampede. In theory, it was a good idea. In reality, it meant anyone could write anything they wanted in anyone's book. The teachers tried to supervise, but there were too many kids, too many rooms, too much noise. I already knew a few people who ended up with cruel messages written by classmates who waited all year to say what they really thought. When I finally got my yearbook back at the end of the day, I sat down on the floor near my locker and started flipping through it. Most of the messages were exactly what you'd expect. Dumb jokes, inside references, misspelled names, promises to stay in touch that everyone knew wouldn't last. Then I saw it. A signature beneath the photo of someone I didn't recognize. His name was Samuel Robinson III. The message he left was short, simple, and wrong in a way I still can't fully explain. Hags, I'll be seeing you again. I stared at it for a long time, waiting for it to make sense. It didn't. I didn't know anyone named Samuel. I'd never spoken to him, never noticed him in the halls, never sat near him in class. At first I assumed it was a mistake. Maybe he meant to write in someone else's book. Maybe it was a prank. Or maybe it was just some weird kid trying to be funny. Still, something about the wording bothered me. Not threatening exactly, just confident, certain. But the school year was over. There was nothing I could do even if I wanted to. So I shrugged it off and went home. That night, I had a sleepover in my basement with my best friends Kevin, David, and Kieran. We did what 13-year-olds do. Doritos everywhere, Call of Duty blaring, trash talk echoing off concrete walls. My parents' bedroom was 3 floors above us, so noise wasn't really an issue. Around 2 in the morning, we were messing around on my dad's rowing machine, taking turns pretending we knew how to use it. That's when we heard the knock, not on the front door, the storm door, sharp, loud, intentional. The sound cut straight through us. Every laugh died mid-breath. No one moved. Who knocks on a storm door at 2 in the morning? It wasn't frantic. It wasn't drunk. It was rhythmic, measured. Like whoever was out there knew exactly how hard to knock without waking the entire house. The knocking came again. Before I could stop him, Kieran called out loud and confident, asking who was there. My stomach dropped. He had just announced to whoever was outside that we were awake, that we were downstairs. After a long pause, the knocking stopped. Then a voice answered.
Come around to the back door.
It was high-pitched, cheerful, almost friendly, like someone asking to be let in for a sleepover. Definitely a teenager. My friends looked excited, curious, like this was some kind of adventure. I didn't feel that way at all. Still, they pressured me, said we should at least look. So we crept upstairs, trying not to wake my parents. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I approached the back door slowly. Through the narrow glass pane, I saw a figure standing under the dim porch light. When his face came into view, my stomach turned cold. It was him, Samuel Robinson III, the same kid from my yearbook. My friends reached for the door handle, but I stopped them immediately and told them everything. About the message, about the name, about how I'd never met him before. Their excitement faded. Not completely, but enough. Samuel stood outside the whole time, watching us. He could see my fear. I know he could. He smiled wider and motioned for me to move to the side of the house. I still don't know why we weren't more serious about it. I think it was because he was just a kid, someone our age. That made it feel less dangerous. I refused to open the door. Instead, I cracked open the kitchen window just a few inches. He stepped closer, and I asked what he wanted.
Oh, so you got my message.
He introduced himself as Sam, told me he'd always watched me from afar, that we could have been good friends. I agreed with him, just to keep him calm. I didn't mean a word of it. I finally asked how he knew where I lived. He didn't answer. Before I could redirect, David snapped and called him a creepy stalker, telling him to leave. Sam's smile vanished. his head tilted like he was trying to understand a language he'd never heard before. Then his face twisted into pure rage. He screamed at us about how he hated my friends, how we should all die. He mentioned my ex by name, things no stranger should have known. Then he lunged for the window. I slammed it shut and locked it just as his hands hit the glass. He snarled, literally snarled, banged on the window with both fists, shaking the frame. I thought he was going to break it. That's when my parents came running downstairs. Sam ran. My dad chased him outside but never found him. The next morning, the school told us the truth. Samuel Robinson III had been expelled weeks earlier. He wasn't supposed to be there. No records, no address, no family history. It was like he never existed. We stayed in that house, but it never felt safe again. Years later, I thought I'd moved past it. Then there was Garrett. Garrett was aggressive in the way some people mistake for confidence. Loud, volatile, always itching for confrontation. This happened on the last day of senior year. Tradition dictated we get drunk at the campus clock tower. So, we did. Over 1,000 students packed into one courtyard, celebrating the end of everything. My friends and I lived off campus. 6 of us walked home together through the city. That's when we ran into the tweaker. He stood in the crosswalk yelling nonsense like a gatekeeper to nowhere. We tried to avoid him. Garrett didn't. He shouted back, charged him. The man ran. Later we realized he was following us. Garrett chased him again. We thought it was over. It wasn't. When I saw the gate to our backyard open later that night, something clicked. I should have told my friends. I didn't. I stepped into the dark alone. The rope came out of nowhere, tight around my throat, cutting off air, frayed fibers digging into skin. I fought, fell, blood everywhere. He ran. The hospital patched me up. The police shrugged. Graduation photos still show the scars. Garrett learned nothing. And before all of that, there was Sven. 7th grade, always in the back corner. Same clothes, same silence, watching the woods through the fence. On the last day of school, strangers filled our classroom, kids I'd never seen before. Teachers whispered, students were quietly escorted out. The fire alarm blared, police swarmed the building. Later, my parents told me the truth. Sven had let them in, through the fence. I never saw him again. Sometimes I wonder how many times in my life I crossed paths with someone like Samuel, or Sven, or the man in my backyard, people who watched, who waited, who knew where I lived, and I wonder how many of them are still out there, watching someone else now.